Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Again, I'm your host, Gordon McCormick, the ghost-based Patrick Henry. Welcome to the show. And so I guess we will just jump right into it. We're going to be talking, I guess, in the beginning of the show, we'll talk about updates on the Iran situation, the Iran war. And then we will get to other geopolitical news. So I guess let's look at the most recent news on this is this news story. The White House will need 4 to 6 weeks to meet our war objectives. Iran's navy is combat ineffective. Let's see. White House, Trump defines unconditional surrender as Iran no longer posing threat to the U.S. We can watch. Let's read Trump's True Social post, and we'll look at Caroline Leavitt's comments. So from the president, there will be no deal with Iran except unconditional surrender after that and the selection of a great and acceptable leader. We and many of our wonderful and very brave allies and partners will work tirelessly to bring Iran back from the brink of destruction, make it economically bigger and better and stronger than ever before. Iran will have a great future. Make Iran great again. Mega, thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay. And then as far as the commentary from Caroline Leavitt,
President Trump means when he says unconditional surrender is when he, as commander-in-chief of the United States military and the leader of the free world, determines that Iran can no longer pose a threat to the United States of America and to our troops and our personnel in the Middle East. That is, again, the ultimate goal of Operation Epic Fury, to annihilate their navy, to take out their ballistic missile threat, which we have largely done in the course of just 6 days. And then, of course, to ensure they can never obtain a nuclear weapon, to significantly weaken their proxies in the region that have killed and maimed hundreds of Americans throughout the years. We've seen the Houthis and Hezbollah have hardly put up a fight over the past 6 days. So we're already well on our way to achieving the objectives of Operation Epic Fury. And when the president determines that Iran no longer poses that threat, that's when that unconditional surrender will take place. As for the next leader of Iran, the president has said, of course, it's in the best interest of the United States to have a leader that is no longer chanting death to America, that is no longer conspiring behind our backs and lying to the American people and to our government about proliferating a new nuclear weapon, which Iran has been doing for decades. It's unacceptable to the president. That's why he decided to launch this operation, and that's his goal, and it will continue to be moving forward.
Okay, so I guess my question is, if the goal was to curb hatred toward the United States and animus towards the United States within Iran, is a bombing campaign the most effective way to do that? I don't know. That's just a simple observation, but we will wait and see, I guess. Let's look at some other headlines. This is from yesterday. Iran threatens to hit Dimona nuclear site if Israel and the U.S. try to topple regime. U.S. says working on plans to secure Strait of Hormuz to prevent Iran from restricting free flow of energy through vital waterway. Washington mulling role in post-war Iran. It says Iran will target the Israeli nuclear site of Dimona if Israel and the U.S. seek regime change in the Islamic Republic, semi-official ISNA news agency reported Wednesday, citing an Iranian military official. The Iranian threat came 5 days into an intense joint U.S.-Israel air campaign against Iran. Both have said the aim is to prevent Iran from developing a nuclear bomb and to destroy the Islamic Republic's long-range ballistic missile program. Israel has also actively encouraged Iranians to overthrow their regime, while the U.S. has indicated it would welcome such a change. The Shimon Peres Negev Nuclear Research Center near the city of Dimona is believed to be key to Israel's long suspected atomic weapons program. They have atomic weapons? Israel does not confirm or deny having nuclear weapons, of course. The site, located in the Negev southern region of the country, is among the most protected locations in the country, with measures believed to include the full range of Israel's air defense systems. In response to the campaign, Iran has fired missiles at regional countries hosting U.S. bases and at Israel, where the attacks have killed 10 people. 3 missile attacks overnight Wednesday sent millions of Israelis scrambling to bomb shelters but caused no injuries. The UN nuclear watchdog IAEA says that facilities housing nuclear material in Iran have suffered no damage in the recent fighting, and there is no risk of radiation leak. Meanwhile, the U.S. is working on plans to secure the Strait of Hormuz. Amid the war with Iran, White House spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt said during a press briefing that Operation Epic Fury, the U.S. moniker for the campaign, will ensure that Iran will no longer be able to restrict the free flow of energy through a waterway that controls roughly 20% of the world's oil supply. Quote, and as the Department of War said this morning, we expect to have complete and total dominance over Iranian airspace in the coming hours, Leavitt said. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said earlier that the U.S. and Israel would have total control of Iranian skies within a week. Leavitt added that the U.S. has destroyed more than 20 Iranian ships, doubling the number from 2 days ago. Asked about the reports that the U.S. is considering arming Kurdish fighters against Iran, Leavitt denied that this is the case, saying that the U.S. President Donald Trump only spoke to Kurdish leaders recently about the American military base in northern Iraq. Media reports have said that the U.S. is in talks with the Iranian Kurds to fight against Iran's security forces to enable a popular uprising against the regime that in January brutally suppressed anti-regime protests, killing thousands. Depending on who you ask. I mean, of course, I think maybe the protests are being led by Mossad and the CIA by the admission of Mike Pompeo. While Leavitt didn't rule out the potential for U.S. ground troops in Iran eventually, of course, she said that they are not part of the plan for the operation at this time, but Trump is discussing with his advisors what role the U.S. could have in Iran after the military campaign, while U.S. intelligence is monitoring reports that Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of the Iran's slain supreme leader, has emerged as a frontrunner to succeed him. She said, quote, we've seen those reports as well, of course, and this is something that our intelligence agencies are looking at. The truth is, we'll have to wait and see, she told reporters. Yeah. So, and then it just goes on to give more background on that. Well, but what about the fact that Israel has nuclear weapons? We're just gonna gloss right over that. We're gonna start a war with Iran because they might have nuclear weapons, maybe, which they legally, I think, are allowed to have because they signed all the non-proliferation treaties and they followed all the rules according to international law regarding enrichment of uranium. But Israel hasn't done any of those things, of course. And whatever they do have was illegally stolen from the United States. But we're not going to pursue any of that because pursuing justice against that unlawful theft in possession would be what? Nobody can fill that blank in. Nobody can explain to me why we go along with that criminality, why we embrace criminality, why we justify criminality. Some criminality is acceptable, but other forms of criminality are totally unacceptable, says the moral relativist. And the moral relativist, of course, is the Satanist. That is the person who rejects God and rejects truth and rejects the one meaning of the word truth and the universal truth that is God, and embraces instead the devil's interpretation of truth, which is my truth is not your truth. His truth is not her truth. I'm just kind of over the whole moral relativist worldview. I think that it's a really sick, perverted, twisted worldview. And for too long, we've allowed our politicians to embrace it. And for too long, the politicians have led us by the nose into war because of it. And I think maybe we should look at this post. So this is a post that's been going viral. It was put out by David Sheen, who is a Israeli journalist. And so, of course, there's a misconception on the internet that this is Itamar Ben-Gvir saying this. This is not Itamar Ben-Gvir saying this. That's Itamar Ben-Gvir in the background. You can see him clearly right there. I'll go ahead and play the video, then we can talk about what is happening in the video. It's in Hebrew, so I'll read what it says. It says, if you listen to the news, then you've heard that Muhammad is the most popular name in the United Kingdom, right? So we want it to be the most popular name in the United Kingdom. There should be lots of Muhammads in Britain, in Sweden, in France. Not here, not here. That's what we want. Now, the guy, let me just back it up a little bit so you can clearly see his face. You can clearly see this guy's face right here. Okay? That is not Itamar Ben-Gvir. Itamar Ben-Gvir, the Israeli national security minister, is the guy standing directly behind him. The guy speaking into the microphone that's attached to his head, where he's wearing a microphone, is actually Benzi Gopstein, who I've been talking about Benzi Gopstein for 3 years. This is Benzi Gopstein right here. He's the leader of the Lahava movement in Israel. Clearly, that's him right there. You can clearly see us. I want everyone to get a good glimpse at this ugly demon. This guy has a really, really ugly face. You can clearly see this guy's ugly mug right here. Okay? That is Benzi Gopstein. And then let's go back to the video. You can clearly see that's Benzi Gopstein. Even though it's not really great resolution, but it's obviously not Itamar Ben-Gvir, who, when he leans forward, you can see Ben-Gvir's face in the background. There he is right there behind him. There's Ben-Gvir. And so Benzi Gopstein, of course, was arrested in 2015 for incitement because in an interview with Slate magazine, he said that Christians were blood-sucking vampires, that they were the mortal and historic enemy of Jews, and that they should all be physically driven out of Israel with violence, and that all churches should be burned to the ground. And because of that, he was arrested in Israel for incitement to violence. He was formally charged, and then he went to court. And when he went to court, of course, I have pictures from that incident. That was in 2020. Here's that picture. The defense attorney who represented him in court, of course, was none other than lawyer Itamar Ben-Gvir, the guy standing behind him in that video, who is now the national security minister of Israel. He's also a Jewish supremacist. These are all Jewish supremacists. It's very important to understand that these people are all absolute supremacists when it comes to bloodline and their view. And just to prove what I'm saying, here is the mind map where I document all that, where I keep all this stuff documented, so it's easy to refer back to. And it's one of the first things I put on the mind map. I built the whole mind map really around Dan Gertler, but the other person that I built the mind map around, aside from Dan Gertler, was Benzi Gopstein. And here is Benzi Gopstein right there. There's Benzi Gopstein, and there's Itamar Ben-Gvir. They even name him right here. Lahava chairman Benzi Gopstein on the right, and his attorney, now member of the Knesset, Itamar Ben-Gvir, left at the Jerusalem Magistrates Court on June 8th, 2020. That was when he went to court for publicly calling for the killing, the violent persecution of Christians in Israel, the burning of all churches in Israel, to make all non-Jews second-class citizens. These are all tenets of Meir Kahane's political doctrine. That was his political mentor, and the people in the background, this kid in the background holding up with this vaccinated kid with the mask on, he's holding up a banner that says Kahana lives. And that's what their whole movement is, the Lahaba movement. So this is the reigning political doctrine in Israel right now. The people who are in charge of Israel, the people who are our closest allies, our strongest allies, our best allies, who openly profess their hatred for Christians, who openly profess their hatred for Jesus, who openly profess their contempt towards us as Americans. And then we get on our knees and we grovel before them and we kiss their feet and we lick their feet and we prostrate ourselves before them because they are gods walking among us. We idolize them and they spit on us. And that is the reality of our relationship with Israel. And if you don't believe me, and I'm sure plenty of people out there don't believe me, let's just play a few more videos because I have videos for us to watch. These are inconvenient, very inconvenient, but they're the truth, and we don't hide away from the truth here. So here is a video of a rabbi named Yosef Mitzrachi. Okay, let's listen to what he says.
The Christians evangelists here in America, which almost all of them are Republicans, they're probably all going to vote for Trump.
This video is not a great quality. It's not coming through very well. Let me see if I can. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can pull up a raw video here.
The Christians evangelists here in America, which almost all of them are Republicans, they're probably all going to.
Okay, so I'm going to save that from that file. Here it is. All right, there should be better quality for the sound.
Christians evangelists here in America, which almost all of them are Republicans, they're probably all going to vote for Trump. And they are very pro-Israel. They are the ones that, thanks to them, United States always been with Israel in the last few decades. If you take out Christianity out of the picture, what United States had to do with Israel?
Okay, so just to be clear, this guy's talking about Christian Zionists in America. He says most of them are Republicans and they support Israel. But why did they support Israel? So right now he is referring to the people in America who love Israel, who think Israel's our greatest ally, who say that that we have a moral obligation to protect Israel and whatever. So if you're somebody who's of that mindset, who sympathizes with Israel and thinks it's our ally, he's talking about you. Listen to what he says about you.
The only things they are helping us is because of religion reason. But what a lot of Jews do not know is that they're not doing it for us. They are doing it only for themselves. Make no mistake. They all believe that once we will go back to the Holy Land and J.C. Penney will show up to redeem the world, he will put us all to be burned in hell. That's what they believe, because we never accepted him, and we won't accept him. So why they want to help us to take over Israel, to win against the Arabs, make sure the Jews go? Why they pay all these organizations that sponsor Aliyah? A lot of the people who made Aliyah, it's Christian money. All the airfare, it's all come from them. There's some reform rabbis who have connection with them. They get hundreds of millions of dollars donation from them. Rabbis from Manhattan, from Texas. Why they are so generous? Why are they donating money to Israel? What do they care about Israel? The answer is because they believe the Messiah would come. They just have the wrong identity of the Messiah. That's it. They believe that it's actually JC. They never watch my debate with a Christian professor. They would watch it quickly. They would dump all the Christian symbols, you know where, because it would be so obvious that it's all fake.
So, he refers to Jesus as J.C. Penney. and everyone in the audience laughs. He says the only reason these people are helping us, the only reason these Christian Zionists support us and send all this money to us, is because they think that when the Messiah comes, that we're all going to convert and we're all going to adopt Jesus as our savior and we're all going to be saved. And he's basically saying that's all BS. We're not doing any of that. So he's sitting here mocking Christians, Zionists, for believing that they're on the same team, that we're all on the same team, and that we all believe the same thing, and ultimately they're going to convert. He's like, we're not doing any of that. It's a joke. And he's even making fun of Jesus in that moment, and they're all laughing at it. They're all laughing at J.C. Penney, is what they call him, J.C. Penney. I don't think it's very funny. But apparently there are a lot of Christian Zionists who think that's pretty damn funny, that making fun of Jesus like that is pretty damn funny. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just don't see like camaraderie here. I don't see I'm not feeling the love. I'm not feeling the love here. Sorry. Then we have, so there's been a big kerfuffle that's led to Trump like jumping in on this commentary. I just listened to this podcast this morning. This is from Tucker. So Tucker Carlson's latest baseless conspiracy blames the Iran war on the Chabad movement. Far-right conspiracist claims Hasidic group is orchestrating global religious war. Jewish security organization warns of surge in violent anti-Semitic rhetoric online. New anti-Semitic theories surfaced this week. This is funny. It's funny that they're saying it was a new theory. I've been talking about this for years now. I've been writing about this in the news brief. I've been showing the videos on my shows. There's actually a lot to support what Tucker's saying here. I tip my hat to Tucker for bringing this to a mainstream audience so that millions of people can be red pilled on this, because this is absolutely true what he's saying here. It says new anti-Semitic theories surfaced this week after the outbreak of the Iran war, with far-right commentators blaming the conflict of the Chabad Hasidic movement as a Jewish security group warned about potential threats. The far-right media personality Tucker Carlson led his Wednesday show with baseless claims that the war's aim was to destroy the Al-Aqsa Mosque and rebuild the Jewish temple. The mosque is located on the Temple Mount, the site of the first and second temples, which were central to Judaism until both were destroyed in antiquity. Quote, there are key players involved in this war, the one happening tonight who believe that what we're seeing on our television screen and on Twitter will usher in a series of events that will begin the destruction of the Dome of the Rock, Al-Aqsa Mosque, and then the rebuilding of the third temple, Carlson said. Quote, this has been ongoing a long time in public through, in part, the efforts of a group called Chabad, he said. I think it's actually pronounced Chabad, maybe, but Chabad has been pushing in a pretty subtle way, unless you look carefully, for the reconstruction of the third temple. Carlson said his evidence was a handful of patches worn by Israeli soldiers showing the temple that he claimed without evidence had come from Chabad. Carlson framed the conflict as a global religious war sparked by Jews and fought between Christians and Muslims. Quote, Christians have a way of denying disproportionately. I'm sorry. Christians have a way of dying disproportionately in these wars, which tells you something about their real motives, he said. The Chabad movement, based in the Brooklyn neighborhood of Crown Heights, is known for its warm outreach efforts to other Jews and is not a political organization. Rabbi Yaakov Bierman, a Chabad community leader in Brooklyn, called Carlson's claims a dangerous blood libel. Quote, Chabad's focus is on encouraging mitzvos, good deeds, to bring more goodness into the world and hasten the coming of the Messiah. So there you go. Hasten the coming of the Messiah, while living responsibly in the present, Berman said in a statement, adding that the patches depicting the temple were unrelated to Chabad. Reckless rhetoric like this is dangerous and irresponsible, Bierman said. Other Chabad community members mocked Carlson for the claim. Candace Owens, another prominent right-wing media personality with a history of anti-Semitism, picked up on the claim, stating, quote, Tucker is telling the truth about Chabad. You should absolutely be aware be aware of where the Kabad is nearest your home. These people are dangerous. They are a radical sect of mystic occultists that follow the idea of a war messiah, and they harm kids. Owens posted on X. Owens on Wednesday also blamed Israel for the 9/11 terror attacks, another baseless anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. So, and then I'll jump down to Trump's response. It says U.S. President Donald Trump dismissed Carlson's statements on the Iran war earlier this week and again on Thursday. Quote, Tucker has lost his way, end quote. Trump told ABC News, quote, I knew that a long time ago, and he's not MAGA. MAGA is saving our country. MAGA is making our country great again. MAGA is America first, and Tucker is none of these things. And Tucker is really not smart enough to understand that. Okay, well, so, that's fine. Like, Trump can say that, and maybe this is all earnest. Maybe it's not. I don't really care. Obviously, like the things that Tucker is saying now and the things that Tucker's putting out, the content he's putting out, which I think is A+ material. It's the same stuff that I've been putting out for quite some time. So I obviously agree with what he's putting out. Like I think that it's all based in good research and solid reporting. But pulling up that some specific clips that Tucker put out. Let's see. I can play there's two 2.5-minute videos that I think are probably worth playing. That Tucker that are from this, and they do have those elements of what they're talking about. So let's go ahead and play those.
Which tells you something about their real motive. But in any case, there was a spate of stories suggesting that U.S. commanders told their troops they were doing.
Let me verify that this is.
Which tells you something about.
Yeah. Okay.
Doing this for some weird anti-Christian reason, posing as Christianity. But it's not just the U.S. side. Here's an IDF soldier, apparently an American by his accent, describing why he's at war. Watch this.
They call this operation the Swords of Iron. But what are we really fighting for? We're fighting for the right of the Jewish people to exist, be Jewish, practice their religion, and be free. And one day our true leader will come and we'll be united as a whole Jewish nation so we can rebuild the Beit HaMikdash.
Bet HaMikdash, probably mispronouncing it. That's the Hebrew term for the temple, the third temple. We are doing this so we can rebuild the temple. Now, you'll notice he's pulling off patches on Velcro on his IDF uniform. These are not civilian clothes. This is the uniform of the government of Israel, of its military. And he has patches on that uniform, one of which is a symbol of the temple, the third temple. So it just couldn't be clearer. Why are we doing this? To rebuild the third temple. Now, if you think we're just cherry picking this off the internet, one guy wearing an unauthorized temple patch, paid for, by the way, a uniform paid by us, armaments paid for by us. The U.S. taxpayer pays for all this stuff one way or another. The U.S. taxpayer pays for the military of Israel. Boy, does it. If you think we're being unfair and just found one guy, well, here's a bunch of guys. It took us about 2 minutes on the internet to find this today. Here is a selection of IDF soldiers. Let's put it on the screen. There you go. And all of them have the same patch. Look familiar. Look carefully at that. What is that? That's the temple. That is the third temple. And we'll get to in a minute about how this might actually happen and what it would mean for the rest of the world. And just to be clear, these are conversations that most Americans, certainly me included, never wanted to have.
All right, and then I have a second part of that. So let's play the second part.
Temple, but it's not just Hasidic groups from Brooklyn, and it's not just IDF soldiers. There are amazingly a lot of American evangelical leaders, Christian Zionists, whose main point is rebuilding the third temple. Now, how could an American Christian or any Christian call for the building of a temple whose inherent presence denies Christ, who said clearly, and Christians believe this, it's a core point of faith, I am the temple. You want to speak to God, you speak through me. That's Christianity. That's the whole religion right there. So if you're a Christian preacher calling for the rebuilding of the third temple, you kind of missed the whole point. That's more than apostasy. That's like not even knowing what the religion's about. So it's hard to believe there could be any ordained Christian leaders pushing for the rebuilding of the third temple. Oh, but there are a lot. There are a lot. And here's just one. This is Pastor Greg Locke. Listen to this.
The Gaza Strip, which has now been cut off by Israel, and rightly so. They should have cut them off a long time ago. I don't care how insensitive you think I am to that. There's 6 doors in this church. You can leave anytime you want to. They've cut them off, electricity. They've cut off their water. They should have. Now, listen, I'm not for hurting anyone that's innocent, but anybody that supports terrorism is not innocent. You understand that? Israel should make the Gaza Strip a parking lot by this time next week. Destroy the whole thing. What they ought to do is evacuate up there on the hill and get a great big missile and blow that wicked Dome of the Rock plumb off of the spot where it's standing right now, so we can get that third temple rebuilt and usher in the coming of Jesus.
Boy, it is embarrassing and shameful as an American Christian to hear that and to know that video is from a few years ago. It's been on the internet. No one bothered to highlight it. Most people weren't even aware this was going on. Oh, it's definitely going on. These are very common views. Seems obvious that Mike Huckabee has them, that a lot of the Christian Zionists, John Hagee, that you think just like Israel. They just like Israel a lot. No. These are clerics, so their lives were informed by their religious views. What are their religious views? Well, you just heard it right there from Pastor Locke, who's quite a prominent Christian Zionist. He's not some lone wacko. And there he is with an Israeli flag waving behind him, casual calls for genocidal violence, just blow it up, make it a parking lot. Well, 2 million people live there. What happens to them? They're terrorist sympathizers. That right there is the tell. This is not Christianity. Imagine Jesus saying, just kill them all. They're terrorists. Is there anything in the gospel that suggests Jesus believed that? No, there's a lot to suggest, in fact, to tell us in very clear terms. He thought the opposite, of course. But the last part, let's build the third temple and bring about the return of Jesus, is a direct contradiction of core Christian theology. And even people without theology degrees who didn't go to some eminent Bible college can tell you, what? Jesus says, I am the temple. That is not Christianity. It's not even a close facsimile of Christianity. It's clearly evil.
And just so we're clear, because I know that there are some people who are going to deny what Tucker's saying here. We've covered this so many times. This is a website for what's called the Temple Institute. This is an actual NGO based in Israel, an organization that claims to actually have possession of the Ark of the Covenant, as they clearly have depicted right here on this coin. This is an organization that as I understand it, I believe Ted Cruz and his father are involved in it. I believe our friend Eric Rice actually was invited to a meeting that he went and attended, where Ted Cruz's father was in attendance, and they were trying to raise money among Christians in Texas to fund the reconstruction of the third temple. This is where they were bringing over that they were getting the red heifers. They made the red heifers in a lab, these red cows. They sent the red heifers over there. They burned them. That was all part of the ritual that needed to be performed in order before they they reconstruct this third temple. Their videos from 2018 of Pete Hegseth in Israel making a public address where he openly says how excited he is about the imminent reconstruction of the third temple. As Tucker kind of started to allude to in that clip, he went deeper into it in his actual podcast, but Jesus himself said, Not only did he say, I am the temple. You don't need to rebuild it. I am the temple. He also destroyed the second temple. And this is where I think a lot of Christians don't know this. But the second temple that was in Jerusalem, Jesus is the one who said every stone in this building, on this building, will be destroyed, will be turned over. This whole building will be destroyed. And this town, Jerusalem, is condemned because of what the Pharisees did, of their rejection. Now we have a actual historical depiction of this from The Chosen. I'm going to go ahead and play that clip that's based on scripture. But let's go ahead and watch what that whole episode looked like, what that whole scene, one of the most famous scenes from the Bible. Let's watch this scene from the Bible.
Excuse me. Let's keep it moving.
What are you doing? Why are you bringing food through here?
I'm taking to the market. This is a shortcut.
This is a place to worship the Father, not a shortcut.
Let me through.
No.
Let me through.
Turn around and go back. Now.
We're gonna shut it down on YouTube because I don't want to get like a violation for the Badlands channel. So if you're watching on YouTube, hit the thumbs up, jump over to Rumble, jump over to X to continue watching. I just don't want us to get dinged by like a copyright infringement. So I'm gonna keep it playing, but I'm gonna say goodbye to YouTube here. So yeah, let me remove this.